You're listening to Exposure on XFM. I'm John Kennedy, and that is Arctic Monkeys with Black Treacle. It was the last single from the last album, Suck It and See, and now they are back with a brand new record, which is out this week. AM is what it's called, and I've got the dream team of Matt and Alex here once more.
Oh, yeah.
So every single album we've done album playbacks.
I know, it seems like moments since we were last sitting across from you.
I know,
John.
Amazing. It's amazing. I mean, 5 albums.
We
I
just
think this
keep
is a pretty good...
coming back for more, don't we?
It's a pretty good work rate, though. I mean, it first came out in 2006, 2013. Now that's almost an album a year. It's good. I think it's good.
It's got to stop, isn't it?
I don't think so. I don't think
It's got to stop. I'm going to go water skiing after this one.
But it's funny because this one seems to have taken longer than any of the others.
Yeah.
What was the cause of that?
You're
delay?
telling me. Yeah.
Was it because you were busy doing other things, or was it a struggle?
The I don't know. The cocktails are longer out there. I don't know. I'm just trying to lighten the mood.
So
are
you all officially living in America now?
No. We've been spending a lot of time out there, and we've made this whole record out there, and the last two. But I don't know if it's home. Just we've been there kind of a lot this last year.
Yeah,
made the record there. We took a long lease on a studio there, where we kind of became our HQ, where we wrote and recorded this new AM album.
So you actually wrote it there too. So it was like a practice space that you could.
What it was intended to be originally. It's a studio. Like there's behind every door, it seems, and that's certainly somewhere on that corridor behind every door there's a studio in that town, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's sort of, and some of them work and some of them don't, and ours didn't necessarily. But we were going to rehearse there for a bit, and there was this lovely old API board in there, and tape machine, etc. And we sort of thought, well, why don't we just try and knock the dust off this and stay here? Kind of, because we got it relatively cheap, and so it just became our thing. We got a little Donkey Kong machine in there and put up some pictures and kind of made it our own.
Wow, that sounds great. So this is Sage and Sound recording.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know I don't know what else has been done there. Maybe something, perhaps like Weezer might have gone there
Weezer
one afternoon
on the wall.
But yeah, it's not like a sort of ocean way fancy sort of Hollywood studio.
Yeah. And so it's not kind of shrouded in history, or
it's not like so and so got like bent over the desk or any of that stuff. You know what I mean? It's like,
So
although now,
obviously
we put
just
that
know
into the fabric
is.
of the place.
So that became a home from home. So you were living around the corner from there, or was it within that kind of walking distance, or did you have to get in a car? I mean, everybody seems to drive in LA.
You have to get on some form of. Sometimes 2 wheels are better than 4. I'm going to say 1 then, but I don't. I rarely ride a unicycle, especially to work. It's dangerous. But it was a commute, but not a long one.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
You could walk it. I walked.
You could have
a
walked
couple of times.
Yeah.
0.1 mile.
And so, at what point did you end up going there? I mean, in 2012. I mean, was everything recorded there? So that
we recorded everything there. We did like the tour with the Black Keys in America, and we just like sort of stayed there straight after that. Came back to do the Olympics because we were going to go straight into the studio. We had like the fire in our bellies, and like while the momentum was up, we were excited to get straight in and record. And then the Olympic thing came along, and we were like, well, we can't really say no to that. And that like took about 2 months to like be involved in, but so as soon as that done, we went back and just got back into it.
Yeah. And were you all living in 4 separate places, or were you living together? Do you think this is a Californian record?
Wow, triple barrel.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, no.
Supersized me.
I don't know. Because I've only thought about it recently, or like we were saying, if now we were like, we're only kidding, we recorded it in Millwall. If anyone would be like, oh, okay. But I mean, it's because we've told people to record it in LA. I don't know if like then in your mind it becomes like a thing. But I can't tell. I don't know if that's right. I don't really know if it sounds like it was done there.
Yeah, maybe it's like we need a decade or something to be able to answer that.
To
question,
listen
whether
back.
It's like, and we're still sort of quite involved in it, I suppose.
still
It's
no
hard to
windows.
tell. I mean, maybe it's a you tell me moment.
Right.
Is it California? Maybe, yeah,
Well,
compared to like the first, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of like
It
about
doesn't
some of the
sound like
same
it were
stuff,
raining
isn't
at
it?
any time, though, I will say that.
Mm.
Doesn't sound like it were raining on the first album.
On the first one.
No,
Yeah.
it does on the first
It does,
one.
right.
There were a bit of
Okay.
rain on that, I think.
Mm.
And in
Sleep.
terms of the living arrangements, then were you all in separate places,
Separate dwellings.
separate dwellings? Do you need that space
Just for
from each
peace of
other?
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And do you? I mean, I'm just trying to picture.
We spend
Arctic
more
Monkeys
time in there, though, than we probably did apart. So,
right
in the
yeah,
studio.
Yeah. So those were places pretty much for sleeping because you need to play
Yeah,
Donkey
exactly.
Kong a lot. And
The Kong was there. We
The
had,
Kong was a sort
everything
of
we needed.
that was Jamie, our guitar player.
Like a surprise for everybody, actually. He organised it himself.
He organised the Donkey Kong machine. That's kind of his
That's his sort
prerogative.
I like that idea. But I'm trying to picture Arctic Monkeys in Los Angeles.
Mhm.
And, if you're living in 4 separate places, whether there are other people, do you have your own social networks that you get involved in, or is it still very much the world of Arctic Monkeys when you're over there?
It's just, I suppose our world has maybe expanded slightly. But,
Yeah, we've permeated.
yeah. But that's what's made being there like probably more fun than it was the first time we went. Like it would be anywhere.
Yeah.
Knowing people, if you know, like people we've met, like the people we've made videos with or records with, and yeah. So it's an extended family now.
Yeah.
I suppose we. It's also the first. This point of note, maybe that it's the first time since we all lived in Sheffield that we all sort of lived in inverted commas in the same town for
Yeah.
like 7 years or something. So I think it's a more of a collaborative record than the last ones have been due to the circumstances they were made in. You know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
And I presume this is a positive thing?
I presume so too. Given the reaction to it so far, yeah.
Yeah, but it
Mhm.
felt positive for you in terms of having everybody around rather than being in New York or in London while other people were elsewhere.
Exactly. No, I definitely. Yeah, I'm just fooling around, but yeah, it was great. Yeah, because we were just there and all kind of immersed ourselves in it.
Mm. And
Man.
did you have any idea? I mean, apart from kind of wanting to get into the studio and get on with it after being on tour. Did you have any other agendas or ideas before going into record? Like,
Yeah, there's a blueprint this time that was kind of "Are You Mine?" Really, this song that is on the record, but was kind of the springboard for the whole thing. It was like, let's make 12 tunes like that, basically. But I suppose the definition of what a song like "Are You Mine?" It kind of got kicked around a little bit and beaten out of shape, but that's kind of, I think we've sort of stuck to that, really.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because obviously that came out in February of 2012, and Black Treacle was the last single from Suck It and See, which is only a month before, really.
Right.
But that kind of closed that door on that record, and suddenly there was already new material from Arctic Monkeys, which was really exciting. But then, obviously, you got caught up in recording, and then touring, and then the Olympics.
Yeah.
And here we are now, what seems like a lot longer than necessarily we were going to think with Are You Mine coming out so quickly.
Yeah. Well, like Matt said, I think in this interview just then, but the momentum, the idea was to carry that momentum from the tour and Are You Mine straight into the studio after, and then the Olympics thing came up and prevented us, I suppose, from getting straight back into the studio. But also I think was an amazing opportunity, obviously, to play that.
A welcome prevention.
Yeah, and you could say that. And also perhaps gave us some perspective on and allowed us to consider the whole thing a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how many songs had been written before you had to go to the Olympics?
I mean, it was sort of sketches, like ideas of things beginning to form. But it was then I mean, a lot of those things, I suppose. There's a whole load of other tunes that aren't on the record that we wrote that kind of branched off too far or didn't like fit the idea. And I guess it was more, maybe I was fooling around with that stuff before, and then there was like a 3-month period where, having done like Do I Want to Know, I suppose, we were like, oh, that's it, and then kind of chased after that thing, kind of went down that track.
Yeah.
So then it kind of, once you got your claws into that kind of idea, then it was like easier to sort of find the stepping stones out of there. So many metaphors there, just to kind of
and the
ceases to make any sense whatsoever. And then once you reach about like 5 in the same thing, you just, where are you?
Well, we're going to hear various different stepping stones, I think, tonight. It is AM in full, Arctic Monkeys, the brand new record with Matt and Alex, talking us through it track by track, and it kicks off with Do I Want to Know next.
Exposure with John Kennedy, XFM.
Calling back to you. Never thought I'd call and when you're at you, 'cause I always do. Maybe I'm too busy being lost to fall for somebody new. Now I thought it through, crawling back to you.
It is Arctic Monkeys on Exposure XFM with Do I Want to Know. It's the opening track to the brand new album AM, which has just come out. Alex and Matt from the band are here to talk us through it track by track. And Do I Want to Know, you're suggesting, Alex, in a way was that one of those first steps towards knowing what this new record would sound like. So was Are You Mine recorded before Do I Want to Know?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that was already there.
Long time
and that was originally thought, well, we want to do that kind of stuff. And then Do I Want to Know materialised and took it in a slightly different direction.
Yeah, but I think it's definitely a relative direction, you know. I suppose what I found most exciting about that Are You Mine was what was happening in the sort of vocal production. So, you know, all the backing vocals on that, and the way they were processed, and how many of them there were, and the sort of scales that they were following, that perhaps nod to a sort of contemporary R&B corner of the musical universe. That was the thing I kind of thought, oh, we should chase after this, and also like it's a strong riff, and kind of that's those two elements are still definitely there on Do I Want to Know. So, but it's just all kind of simplified, and there's a lot more space in it perhaps than there is on Are You Mine. And then it was that Do I Want to Know kind of really came out of a session we did in Joshua Tree before we moved into like our place, the Sage and Sound that we were talking about. We went out there to sort of brown the garlic, if you will, before cooking the feast. So it was a sort of writing session, and you know, I learned. But some of that stuff that was recorded out there does remain on the record, because we sort of took the tapes back and added to them, and you know, so the rhythm track for Do I Want to Know was largely recorded in Joshua Tree. I think that perhaps there's a bit of the desert in that husky drum sound there. I don't know, but I suppose what we realised from that particular song was it can be that simple, you know. And so then after that, when we were working on the other tunes, it always reminded you to, you know, that tune reminded you that it was what you leave out sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, backing vocals and your vocal too, the lead vocal, seem pretty crucial to the whole sound of this album. The backing vocals have this lovely soft feel to them. And who does all those? Is it all you, Matt, or is it the group as a whole? Or
Me and Nick did a lot of the backing vocals. Al does some of the, higher things as well. But we, I think we spent like a lot of time on it and going to a falsetto instead of just like shouting.
Yeah,
shouting high pitched.
Shouting cold as the night.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't just shout cold as your night. Cold as the night for the rest of your life. So we me and Nick did a lot of he does like low stuff as well though. Nick, he goes quite deep.
Yeah, he's got the bottom end held down.
Yeah, and I'll take it up there
in everywhere, and Matt's not afraid to climb.
but it works as a treat. I mean, it sounds really good, and you're right. It does sound very contemporary R&B. I mean, if you take the guitar solos out and take your lead vocal out and just listen to the beat and the backing vocals, it would be quite interesting to hear like either a rapper go on top or a female vocal start kind of sailing up into the sky.
Definitely. I mean, that's sort of what we were going for. I mean, that's a world that we've always sort of talked about and been interested in, and maybe even sort of name-checked as an influence before, but kind of, I guess, quite confusingly maybe to some people. Well, but this time I think it kind of, it is, there's definitely elements borrowed from that world.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when the first album came out, you name-checked quite a lot of UK hip-hop. And I think maybe people thought in terms of your lyrics and UK hip-hop and tied those two together as opposed to the musical side of things, even though, Matt, you often professed an interest in hip-hop beats and production definitely. As well. But this time round, it's a much more American sound. Say, I'm going to play Are You Mine now? But I think when that came out, you mentioned people like Lil Wayne and Drake in relation to this song as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose that, I mean, maybe I guess, like you said, we used to talk about Roots Maneuvered and those people in the beginning. I suppose people that have, I like Drake, for instance, or something that's, I suppose, wasn't around when our first album came out. I guess we have, I mean, Matt and I are definitely like fans of that. Because I suppose we like listen to that much music as like when we're sort of touring around, like every time we're like in a car or in the dressing room, that as much as I love listening to the Stooges and Sabbath, like sometimes you just want to stick on like R. Kelly's new tune, you know what I mean? Like get away from like the guitars for a minute, or like, I mean, we do anyway. I mean, I suppose like some people just sort of stick to the that other side, but yeah, I think there's something interesting about that to me. There always has been.
And in terms of building the songs, I mean, did these words materialise after you were experimenting with these beats and these? A
lot of the time they did, John. Yeah, all the songs on here are kind of in the like fifth incarnation or something now. Like there was a demo on a phone, and then and then this 4-track cassette recorder demo of it that then we kind of kept some of and put it in the computer or whatever and sort of worked on it a little bit more, and they all sort of changed and evolved so much. But I, more often than not on this one, wrote the lyrics and the melodies to drums and bass on this cassette recorder, and just recording it and me kind of trying to like engineer it myself and putting the mics in the wrong places probably, and sort of, and also like the less than perfect sort of electronics in this like old machine coloured it in such a way that put me in a place when I'm like sitting there in the room with the headphones and the microphone going through the space echo. So I'd write something that I wouldn't have just written sitting on the couch with the guitar trying to imagine what it all might mean. So yeah, we went about it a lot like that, a lot more this time. And I think that's kind of perhaps responsible for the way some of the melodies move around, like especially in the verses when you almost kind of get these like, it's like a conversation or something. There's not too much repetition and it walks around. I don't know.
And the backing vocals do at times seem to respond to what the lead vocal is doing as well. It's a nice kind of call and response. Not obvious, but it seems that there's a conversation going on between the vocal sound in general, which is good.
It was all, well, that's where we put all the kind of complications now. We took it out perhaps of the rhythm section where sometimes it's been and put it all in like the vocals and kind of just did a lot more with that. So yeah, whether it's like the kind of sort of two-way pager melodies, like in inverted commas, like with a from like R&B tunes 15 years ago when they was never too far from like a pager lyrically, and so there's that. And then, or whether it's like a more sort of old school, if you'll forgive me saying old school, R&B thing where it's like a shoe up moment. There's like some of them in there. Like, I don't know, a little nod to that world as well. Shoe what on earth are you doing? Shoe what are you doing on earth?
I think we need some more music. This is Are You Mine? Arctic Monkeys, Exposure, XFM.
Crazy, 'cause here isn't where I wanna be. And satisfaction feels like a distant memory. And I can't help myself, alright. What I ever say is, are you mine? Well, are you mine?
Arctic Monkeys, Are You Mine? On Exposure XFM, track 2 from the brand new album AM, which is getting the full album playback treatment tonight. And next up from the album, we have One for the Road.
Exposure. XFM.
So we all go back to yours and you sit and talk to me on the floor. But there's no need to show me around, baby, I feel like I've been here before. I've been wondering where the late to when you tell everybody to go. Will you pour me one for the road?
It is Arctic Monkeys on XFM, One for the Road. It's track 3 from the new album AM, which has just come out, and we've got Alex and Matt talking us through it track by track. And One for the Road features a bit of Josh Homme on it.
Yeah, well, you know what? We got him down to do like some hoo-hoos on this tune. But he ended up kind of he is in there on this one, but his main contribution kind of comes a little bit later in the record. But we'll get to that, I'm sure.
And One for the Road, what's that one all about? I mean, this is another R&B number, really, as far as I can hear it.
I guess it's sort of a lot of them, like this one and like Why Johnny Call Me When You're High, I suppose, a single. Like they start off in that world, but kind of gallop into a sort of phasey liquid light show thing by the end. But yeah, this one definitely, it's got that Matt kind of tracking the lead vocal all the way through, but like the octave up that adds this like ghostly quality. 'Cause I think it's quite dark, this tune, it's like it's about that outstaying your welcome in a parallel universe or something.
Because in the real universe, you'd never outstay your welcome. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know, John. You tell me.
Well, I don't know either, really. I don't.
But like that in the, I guess what I'm trying to say is like that feeling where it just the colour sort of rushes out of the night. Sometimes you're like, oh, all right, I need to get out of here. It's like that moment, just dragging it out too long. False wisdom.
Listening to the whole album, there seems to be quite a few situations like that. I don't know. Part of it seems to occupy this nighttime world.
Yeah.
Of people in situations in bars, trying to get into another kind of situation or running away from. I don't know if there's much running away from coming, but getting from one situation to another. But it's always a lot of the pictures I get from listening to the record are all late night in a bar somewhere or outside a bar somewhere.
Yeah, I mean that's fine by me.
Excellent. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean that's
not?
I mean that's great if that's where it takes you, John. I mean I'm happy for you to go there.
Arabella is the next song, and this also starts off like an R&B number, but what I like is that it switches to Black Sabbath's War Pigs. and the transition is seamless. It's fantastic the way you do it, and so it's bringing those two ends. It's like your Aliyah and Sabbath interests joined together as one.
Which they sort of make perfect sense in a way. I think the colours from those two rainbows seem to blend quite nicely. Like, just, I don't know. Yeah, but you're right. It's the two ends of the record. I suppose they do kind of come together on this on Arabella. Like, yeah.
Because on Are You Mine, I mean, there's a little taste of Matt's drumming where you kind of do some more kind of rolling beats and kind of let loose a bit. But that's about the only place on the record, you know. And in the same way that, you know, the big riffs are few and far between, but they just suddenly emerge in Arabella, just a tad,
just to show that we're still.
Yeah. Because I mean, I guess they're in. You know, there's so many guitars on the record. It's just, I guess they're processed a little bit different way. Like, we perhaps manipulated the instrument like differently, but there's probably more guitars on here like than ever. But it's just, there's like a space in it. It's not always kind of like a kind of power chord or something.
Yeah,
I guess that's probably, you know, the Arabella's the only moment, I guess, where you get that kind of thing, because I guess we've sort of done plenty of that. It's kind of like we're trying to. There's something we were sort of chasing something else this time.
Yeah.
I think it's even in the set. Like, if I don't know how into it you want to get, but like even in the kind of solos, for instance, I was trying to get away from just doing like wah, fuzz kind of wah, that I've been doing a lot recently. So there was like I kind of turned the fuzz off for a bit and sort of went for like a cleaner with a bit of like phase thing. I don't know, that seemed to, you got to play it differently then or something. Like, we just trying to move on, you know.
Yeah. Do you think touring with the Black Keys had any influence on you? Because it seems to me that they combine these different elements in their own special way, but they kind of experiment with guitar sounds in a way that you wouldn't think obvious. You think of them as, you know, a garage rock duo, but they're much more than that, aren't they? And the way they use space in the last few albums is quite interesting.
Oh, they're very clever boys, aren't they? Yeah. No, I mean, they just can write hits now, apparently, as well. Like, that's the one, you know, they've definitely got that over the Monkees at this point. But yeah, I think he's a terrific guitar player, but I suppose he's quite traditional with like the way he plays and that. Oh, Dan. But I mean, yeah, we've been long time fans of them and we're delighted to be on that tour. So, but I don't know if it had a massive influence on the record, like, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
I don't. It's yeah, I don't know. It did make me consider getting a disco ball for the live show. So.
Are you any closer to that?
A little bit.
There.
We got some little ones for Glastonbury, like
Disco dish. That's what we've got.
mirror ball. Yeah, disco dish.
Which seems an appropriate phrase to enter the world of Arabella.
Yeah,
man.
This is it. Arabella, Arctic Monkeys, Exposure, XFM. What a combination. It is Arabella, Arctic Monkeys on Exposure. Aliyah and Dre meets Black Sabbath. I'm liking it. And there's so much more still to come. I continue with our unexpurgated Arctic Monkeys AM play out. I Want It All next.
XFM.
You're listening to Exposure on XFM. I'm John Kennedy, and that is Arctic Monkeys with I Want It All. It's track 5 from the brand new album AM. We're playing you the whole thing with Alex and Matt from the band, talking us through it track by track. And I Want It All was something I think I got a world exclusive to play it on the radio last week. And it got a great reaction.
Did it?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, a really good reaction. And I kind of suggested to people that maybe, because I was going to be talking to you the next day, that they might want to, if they want me to ask you any questions.
Oh, yeah.
But most of the questions seem to be about marital status and whether any of you wanted to marry these particular correspondents.
Okay. All right.
So
Did we get pictures or
any pickies?
No pictures.
Numbers?
No. Just Twitter.
Oh yeah.
names,
Okay. Well, you
that
can
kind of
find out everything I need to find out from that. They are traceable.
It was quite interesting. I thought I might get some deep, interesting questions about this new record.
You thought wrong,
They
John.
all just want to
It was
marry you.
2013.
No.
Yeah.
Who's the closest to settling down, do you think? Or being in California across the other side of the world, you've got that whole future ahead of you.
That's it. We're never in one place for more than 2 days. So I don't know if there's such thing.
Yeah, man. As long as you kind of keeping a bag packed, it's sort of hard to think about that. I don't know.
So I Want It All has some lovely shoo-up moments.
Yeah.
And I do think the backing vocals are one of the highlights of the new record. I mean, when you were recording them, how did you record them to create that sound? Because it does sound like a marriage of old school R&B and contemporary R&B. You know, that kind of, especially the sounds that you've used, I think, are more old school, like the shoo-wop idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. Yeah, I mean, you
Didn't put any distortion on our voices. That's something we probably went for more smooth milk chocolate this time.
Was it easy to arrive at that sound, to get it right, or was it a
it's
struggle?
the performance
It's
kind
the
of takes a
difficult,
while, yeah.
yeah.
Because I mean, you know, when
It's like you're actually trying to sing, like, difficult things.
it's sort of that's the thing, I guess, that takes a while, and then kind of like there's a lot of hand movements has to go on. You kind of
Eyebrows, hands.
the hand really does help when you sort of climbing up there. I've found anyway. I mean, none of us are really like singers. I imagine like singers listening to this sort of rolling their eyes and being like, oh.
They do it every afternoon.
Yeah, but it's kind of, it takes a bit of work from us, like, and also to arrive at kind of writing the melodies, I think comes certainly to me less naturally than sort of words do. Yeah.
And the recording of the lead vocal then, did that have to alter to let the backing vocals come through in the way that you wanted them to? Or did you record the lead vocal as you have in the past?
Yeah, pretty much sort of as I have in the past, right? SM7. If you're interested.
Yeah, no, we need this information. And James Ford, I mean, you've worked with him so much.
Yeah.
It's like you're one being. He understands you.
Well, yeah, I think when you're shooting for something like this as well, which is a bit of an idea, you know. Can't say inverted commas anymore today.
He's got his arms up in the air,
but,
waving them.
But there's I think that having that understanding with someone like James, you know, is important to just not have to constantly sit down and like discuss everything, because you kind of already know with him kind of finishing each of the sentences, I suppose. And we've realised we sort of can't live without him, unfortunately.
And Ross Orton, what was his role?
Well, as Ross puts it, Ross bangs bones together and detonates shit, and James does the rest. And I think that's kind of pretty. I can't really improve upon that.
Right. Because I first came across Ross in a band called Fat Truckers.
Yes.
Who were fantastic.
Superbike.
Yeah, Superbike. What a tune. And that was a kind of noisy electronic thing. And since then he's become a kind of producer. And,
Well, he's a terrific drummer as
Fantastic,
well.
right.
Yeah, like that's kind of.
Yeah.
And we met. I mean, I met him through Matt. Really.
I met him like probably through like DJing and stuff. I saw him around Sheffield, and like ended up doing little things with him, like electronic things, and like worked with him like in that sense before we did as a band, but always thought it'd be a good idea to use him like bring him to the Monkeys as well.
Yeah.
Because for like a lot of reasons, but from my point of view, like just how he is with drums is like, it's good because it's quite different. It's still quite straightforward. He's not like traditionally like trained drummer who's like obsessed with different tunings and stuff. He's kind of got his idea of what's good and what's bad, and I happen to agree.
Yeah. Which is a good thing. And
Yeah.
did he stay in LA with you for the whole time, or?
Yeah, he was out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
The whole
another
thing.
transplant from Sheffield.
He was the best at Donkey Kong as well. I think he got the top score, like a really good top score.
Yeah, that was the battle, like him and Jamie on the old Kong.
Yeah.
You just like hear them both like in the other room, sort of
Just
swearing
shouting.
at this.
And there's a little reference to the Rolling Stones in I Want It All. You were talking about listening habits.
Oh yeah.
Is that there for a reason? Because you were listening to that around the time that you were writing that song, or does it conjure up a particular thing for you?
I think it was that is one of the truths on there, maybe, that was one of those things that just happened one night, and I thought, why not kind of just put that in there? You know, I didn't have to like add any sort of sweetener to that one. Just like served it black.
From I Want It All, which is possibly the most upbeat track so far, number one party anthem takes it in a different direction. You go down, it's nice and slow with a bit of piano. Who plays the piano?
Ford did all the keys,
Ford.
yeah.
Right.
James.
Just like Elton John, like a young Elton John, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it certainly has a kind of almost Elton kind of feel.
Yeah. He channeled a bit of Elton for that.
Yeah,
It was
or
a bit- yeah, we went this amazing studio to do. We had like a little day out to go and do all the keys. It was just down the street from where we were working on the rest of it, but yeah, it was. It's just this guy who's got this amazing collection of sort of interesting keyboards, and then like a lovely Steinway or something, and. So we just went there and had like some fun for a day, like layering up all the tunes. So yeah, Ford just played keys all day, and we like bossed him about.
excellent. That's kind of like a reversal.
Sorry.
Call for Matt.
Pressed a button.
on line
Pressed
one.
a button that I shouldn't have.
Hello,
Do that
John.
again.
How you doing? John on line one.
All it is.
So,
Alex, I was just wondering, what's happened to your voice? What's with the air?
Typical.
Well, John, I just like the way it protrudes. I shouldn't have called that character John.
Because
Should
you're
I?
John.
Your name's John. That's very
Yeah, it's a
confusing
pretty
for the
common
listener.
name.
Yeah,
It's a
but it's
pretty
quite
common-
realistic.
Yeah.
So it was a kind of reversal of roles then. He's doing the piano bits, and you're in effect in the other room saying, no, what you need to do is...
Other side of the glass.
Yeah.
Often that happens with James when it comes to percussion. He gets in there and tambourine, and we sit behind a desk and pretend we're the opposites. for a
Pretend
bit.
he's like behind the beat. or
Pretend
something.
he's off, yeah. It's funny.
Won't wind him
Because
up.
he takes it quite seriously.
Yeah.
It's a constant tambourine battle between James and I.
That's true.
Yeah,
Something I won't do is play tambourine.
yeah.
Really?
Just a policy from day one that I'm stubborn enough to stick at.
Yeah, you tambourines
Just a no
and
percussion.
basses. You don't like.
I won't ever play a bass guitar either.
What did you say?
Sorry.
It's
I said it's like wading through mud. I probably said a different kind of word, but I want to keep it daytime.
I admire that.
Yeah, because I want it to be heard, not censored.
yeah.
Those words of wisdom. We need to hear them.
Yeah.
This is number one party anthem. It is Arctic Monkeys on Exposure, XFM.
Drunken monologues, confused because it's not like I'm falling in love. I just want you to do me no good, and you look like you could. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on. Number one.
Arctic Monkeys with number one party anthem from the brand new album AM. Alex and Matt talking us through it track by track. You are the A and the M.
I just realised
in the band.
that.
I've only just realised that.
Oh wow!
When
so
you
it
said
could be
That's why we
the
do
Alex
this.
Matt album. Is that what you're saying?
That's why we
Is
do
that what we're saying?
Why,
Is that what we're saying?
I love that. I mean, people probably will be.
It will be
reading
what
into
will
we're
be my
saying
next-
in the next
That's
interview.
it.
Yeah.
What's it stand for?
Why not?
What do you think?
It stands for Alex
Seeing as
and
we're the
Matt,
only
of
ones
course.
that-
It stands for Ali McCoist. Footballer turned pundit. Turned manager.
Yeah.
It was the simplicity that appealed to you, was it?
Yeah.
Of AM.
It was a way for us to self-title it as well without having to say Arctic Monkeys a lot because it sounds silly. So yeah,
Fair enough.
or to see it any more than we need to.
We were talking in the car this morning. I wish we'd have just called our band the Rate Lads.
The band name
Beginning.
would have been
Really?
That would have changed everything.
Does it still?
RL, then this
is
would be.
Is it still an albatross round your neck?
It's a little bit. It's just. I mean, obviously it's fine now, and it's too late, and nobody really thinks what it even says.
Do you think
what
it still
means.
puts some people off though?
Yeah, I bet seeing it is a bit like that's just silly. Like, I don't know, school band, but so yeah, I mean, I don't know I don't know how different everything would be, but it'd been nice to have a different T-shirt design.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mad Sounds is the next song, and this seems to me like an ode to the beauty and power of music. Is that what it is?
That's exactly what it is, man. Yeah. It's about those songs that somehow seem to sympathise or understand with how you're feeling to the point where you're almost angry at them for doing so. And hopefully maybe it might in turn be one of those songs for some people, hopefully. I don't know. But that's what it is. The hook line came from the guy who first recorded us up in Sheffield, this chap called Alan Smythe, when we first went and did demos and sort of saved up his pocket money to go and have a day in the studio. Had this song that he'd created on like him doing a vocal with a Wasp synthesizer somewhere like deep in the 80s, and I remember he used to play us all his old tunes and things and different bands he'd been in. There's this tune called Mad Sounds that he had, and it's sort of him singing. He's like, mad sounds in your ears make you get up and dance, make you get up. And we like always, play us that Mad Sounds tune again now, because it's like that was such a cool hook. I don't know. So 10 years later or something, I was sitting there like playing this guitar lick and kind of remembered that and started singing it along, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest materialised. Excellent. So and who was singing that in that original thing that he was playing to you?
Al.
Al.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he
The
was
man
saying-
himself,
So
one
does
man.
he get a writing credit on?
Yeah, he
he
sure does.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love that idea, and I love the idea that something did stay with you and develop. 10 years further down the line.
As I always, used to, and I've been thinking about it for ages. That kind of like, that'd be good to make that into something else. I don't know. And then it seems to go perfectly with that little sort of guitar lick, which is kind of totally opposite to the kind of the original version.
But it has a nice kind of
works out.
classic feel to it, though, the song. I mean, it sounds like... it doesn't sound like any of these songs, but it could be Pale Blue Eyes or Under the Boardwalk or Stand By Me. It has that kind of feel
thank
of
you.
a kind of classic rock and roll thing. So, I really like it. But I like that idea that, in a way, musically, it's saying... we love music of all shapes and colours.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's kind of fairly straight ahead as the song itself.
Yeah.
And you've also got a different drummer on this.
We played just percussion.
Right?
Yeah.
Pete Thomas.
This is Pete Thomas, who was part of Elvis Costello and the Attractions. Is
Still
that right?
is.
Still is.
Yeah.
Still going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still going.
Still
strong.
spinning wheel.
And he lives in LA. Am I right in thinking?
That's right.
that?
Yeah.
And why did you need to get him in?
Because Matt injured himself and was out of commission for a little while, and having already lost some momentum, as we previously discussed, we felt it was important that we kept spinning the wheel. So we got Pete down to help us kind of work out some of the knots in the stuff we were working on then. And Mad Sounds was one of the things that we kind of worked on with him, and then kind of went on and re-recorded, but sort of kept some of his percussion in there. And his like spirit, I suppose, is on there as well. Like, you know, he's great. He's a good hang, Pete. Like, and he, you know, he's great to be around and a lot of fun. And we had a laugh with him. And there's certain parts, you know, this song Snap Out of It that we'll get to later, for instance, like that sort of without his enthusiasm when it was a germ of an idea wouldn't have come to fruition, I don't think. So yeah.
Yeah, I like
nice
that.
one, Pete.
And you can hear his percussion work on this. It's Mad Sounds, Arctic Monkeys, Exposure, XFM.
Mad sounds in your ears, they make you get up and dance, hold on to make you get up. Oh yeah, they make you get
It is Arctic Monkeys on XFM with Mad Sounds on Exposure, and that is track 7 from the new album AM, the Alex Matt record, as we've just finally realised. Alex and Matt are here talking us through it track by track. Fireside is the next song, and I think you were talking about exploring new sounds and new ways of doing things. This sounds quite unlike a lot of Arctic Monkeys things. I think it has more of a kind of shimmery feel to it somehow. It's so shimmery. I wrote shimmery twice when I was making little notes about it. How did you get to Fireside?
I guess maybe this is perhaps one of the exceptions on the thing we were talking about with the 4-track and writing it to a groove, and perhaps this tune was written a little bit more traditionally, I suppose. And that makes it sound like I wrote it on a lute or something, but not quite that traditional. Like, but it was. I sat there with the guitar, and wrote a song, and then we applied to that song the necessary rhythm part, etc. And yeah, I don't know. It's all about longing, I suppose. And I think like if longing was a liquid, it's not something that you necessarily sail smoothly along in, and you know, it sort of pulses and bubbles, and we wanted the rhythm section to reflect that, I suppose. So I think what you got is this kind of rolling boil rhythm to the whole thing. But I think it's kind of, you know, I suppose it's quite melancholy, the tune, but no one wants to just, it's not always, it doesn't have to be whiny or something. I don't know. That's kind of how that emotion feels to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because that contrast, the rhythm is so kind of there the whole time, and it doesn't necessarily match the other instrumentation. You know, obviously it works together, but in terms of how you get the idea of the song.
Yes, and
so nice
I suppose the other
reason.
talking point on this one is I kept spoiling it with the solo, so we phoned up Bill Ryder-Jones.
So Bill Ryder-Jones, somebody who has appeared on Exposure on his own, but was also part of the Coral. He's released a couple of great records through Domino Records, same label as yours. Yeah. But did you know him already? I mean, you met him when he was in the Coral, and
we taught Coral. We like toured together with Coral a couple of times around Europe and stuff. So
and I got
and then you
got Bill in on, and I did that Submarine soundtrack for Richard Ayoade's film a couple of years ago. I got Bill in to play on that. We always get him in on the sad songs, it seems. I don't know about that. Maybe we just need to get him to like do some foot on monitor slaying at some point. But
he's not a sad person. I mean,
no, not at all.
He's pretty upbeat.
But he can't play a melancholic solo. No, he came in and he provided us with that, and I suppose it's more like a instrumental section or something. It's like soundtracky, I suppose. Yeah,
But
a
it's
sound tracky. Soundtracky
all
as
about
opposed to a sound tracky, which I guess he also knows about being from that part of the world.
that is from Liverpool, in case you were wondering.
Thanks for picking up the slack there, John.
And they wear tracksuits sometimes.
Give him some credit.
Excellent. This is Fireside. It's Arctic Monkeys on XFM.
I'm not sure if I should show you what I've found. Has it gone for good, or is it coming back around? Isn't it hard to make up your mind when you lose it and your fuse is fireside?
Featuring the guitars of Bill Ryder Jones, that is Arctic Monkeys with Fireside, and there are still 4 more songs to come from AM in tonight's programme. And the next one will be Why Do You Only Call Me When You're High?
XFM.
Now it's 3 in the morning and I'm trying to change your mind. Left you multiple missed calls, and to my message you replied. Why'd you only call me when you're high? Why'd you only call me when you're high?
It is Arctic Monkeys with Why Do You Only Call Me When You're High, the most recent single from the new album AM, which is out this week. We're playing you the whole thing with Alex and Matt from the band, talking us through it track by track. My name is John Kennedy, and that was the kind of latest single, backed with another really great title, Stop the World, I Want to Get Off With You, which I thought, I couldn't believe nobody had done that before.
Me neither, John.
Yeah.
I can't believe me.
Did you do some
Thank
fact
me lucky
checking?
stars that day.
Did you check it as well?
Did I Google it to check it? Yeah.
It's often a dangerous game, because I hear that people look for what people search and then take it. Like if you search for a website that you want,
wow.
like if you want like...
I remember being sort of a bit disappointed when I found out Psychedelia Smith was a band from Northampton or something.
Yeah. Not that disappointed that they're from Northampton.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why Do You Only Call Me When You're High?
Sorry. Keep interrupting. You're very rude.
You know how this works.
I just remember thinking that had been a rail light that day, but no, somebody's already been there.
So Why Do You Only Call Me When You're High? This is a common occurrence in your lives? A riposte you get?
I mean, I think we've all been on both ends of that bubble, haven't we? I don't know what you're using.
Yeah, what device you use.
But I mean, it's a bubble for me.
Facts.
So
We've all been on the end of that facts.
So a lot of questions, a lot of question marks on this record, aren't there?
Isn't there?
Are you mine? Do I want to know? Why do you only call me when you're high? You know, this kind of thing. And, when I said that, I asked people to come up with questions to ask you, because obviously...
Was that one of them?
One of them was... Well, it probably was. But one of those, they wanted to know, they've got a bet going on, and they think that the same character is kind of involved in those particular songs. So, are you mine? Do I want to know?
Oh, the question.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. Is the same person inspired these particular songs?
And does he ever get his answer?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right.
So all the question songs are one character.
Yeah.
So the question is,
how do you win that bet?
I don't know.
We settle it
I don't
now.
know what the
What
this
odds
was
do you
Anna.
get on that?
Anna texted in.
Anna, maybe we can get in on this.
Ladbrokes.
She could. Like, no.
What are Ladbrokes
I don't know
giving you on that one?
which is the right way. Maybe somebody
That's
says
fine.
they're not all written about the same person, and maybe Anna says they are. What do Arctic Monkeys say?
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Anna. Let's put that one to bed.
Okay, so that's.
I don't know.
You
Yeah,
lose
does
a
it
tenner.
matter?
I don't think it necessarily.
I don't
matters.
think
It
it
seems
does.
to matter.
Only for the bet.
You were just glad to get a question that
Yeah,
wasn't, will you marry me?
Yeah, exactly. I thought, wow, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
Maybe
So I
that
had
was
to
the
read
bet.
it.
You know what you can bet on though? The length
Oh.
of Harry Redknapp's car window.
And it
interview.
happened, didn't it?
Yeah, and then it did
How long
happen
were
this
it?
night. It was like at least over 2 minutes. On one of them, like we won't mention what, but like Nick got this thing the other day where you can put funny bets on things. One of which was the length of Harry Redknapp's
I'm
car
going to get
window
into that, I think. That's the kind of thing I'll gamble on.
Sour Fast Street.
But please gamble aware, guys.
But yeah, no, I saw it on telly last
So
night.
responsible.
I saw his interview and it was like, oh yeah. He's like putting the seatbelt on and that. So it's like there.
Does he even wind it down, or does he just
He winds
shout?
it down, yeah. He did a good like over 2.5 minutes.
What car's he in?
Oh, I didn't see that. It weren't a 4x4.
Good.
Lower.
Bend down with microphone. Anyway.
There's a nice bass groove on Why'd You Only Call Me
Mm.
When You're High, which I particularly like.
Yeah.
Is that all Nick's work?
What
How was
happened
that
with that
crafted?
one? You know, there was a version of this.
Oh,
this
yeah. We changed it.
Yeah, there was a version of Why'd You Only Call Me When You're High that maybe we'll release one day, but it was more like, I suppose, an Arabella or an Are You Mine thing to start with, which then we decided to go down this other road with later on. And I suppose there's a nod to like Dr. Dre in there, like it's like it's not got any rapping on it. Don't worry, folks, if you haven't heard it yet. But there's definitely, I suppose I guess it's like we admire the way like Dre beats or other things in that world that we mentioned are put together. You know, it's sort of like the architecture, if you like, of that music is something we wanted to borrow from for our for this record.
Yeah.
Whilst the foundation is still like rock and roll, but yeah, so hopefully it gets the heads nodding and the sort of hips moving.
Heads nodding, neck snapping. And I mean, I think that's why I was asking whether it was a Californian album, because if you were thinking in terms of Dre beats, and,
I think you can, sorry. I think there is a link between sort of West Coast hip hop and some other kind of, I don't know, more like Laurel Canyon-y music or something, where it kind of lays back a little bit. You know, there's definitely a correlation there. So maybe we can put this in that bracket somehow. Like, does it lay back a bit? I don't know. The timing of the vocals was quite lazy. Maybe that's something to do with the palm trees. I don't know. We'll see. I feel like I've always been pretty slow though with that kind of timing. I'm always behind the beat. Me.
Tricky business when you've got so many words, though.
Just spitting them out.
Yeah.
Still, but
spitting them
sometimes.
out, you know, it's just like, I mean, Sinatra always does that as well, wasn't he? Like, it was like really super late on the, you know, especially like on like live versions of things. It's kinda, I don't know. There's something I think there's something a bit badass about that. Like, just it's better to be there than ahead, isn't it?
Could you see yourself as a future Sinatra? Could you see yourself moving out in front of the band as more of a crooner, dropping the guitar? Would you ever do that?
Well, I do that on a couple of tunes live. Like,
I thought you were talking to me then, John.
Well, Matt should have his moment.
A guitar? What?
Somebody who can reach those high notes. He needs a spotlight and his own microphone on the stage.
We have talked about a Matt Elder's solo album, haven't we, quite a lot recently.
We should probably start talking about it now. Plant
One of them in the pipeline. May as well do a bit of promo for that.
Yeah,
while we,
because I ain't even chose like my press agents or anything yet, so I'm just going to use this time.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely one of them in the pipeline, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. But you do like to put the guitar down, don't you?
I
Back
do
to the
like
original.
to put it down, yeah. Just, it's nice to have just get the arms out.
And walk around a bit.
Know.
So having had a taste of it, you're kind of ready and willing.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
go further.
maybe. Yeah, I mean, we have got like a fifth member again now on the road with us. Our Tom Rowley, Tom, the Father, the Son, and the Rowley Ghost. He was doing like the keys and everything else, and sort of checking my emails as well, like, over in the corner while he's at it.
Update.
Sort of doing everything
Website.
just so I can swan about and not play guitar. Basically, it's that conceited.
Snap Out of It is the next song, and this, you said, was kind of helped by Pete Thomas earlier on, the good hang that helped you out for a while Matt injured his hand.
Mm-hmm.
So he heard the germ of this and said, no, this is really good, you should work on it.
Stick at it,
something
guys.
like that.
Sort of, pretty much, yeah. We kind of falling out with it, and he was just, I don't know. He got very involved, like, you know. Pete's like got that sort of great enthusiasm, and he's a terrific player. And yeah, it was just kind of like, oh no, there's something in this, you know. And it turns out he was right. Yeah.
And I mean, had you met him before, or was he a go-to man? You're in the studio and you think...
We met him a couple of times before, yeah. Through his daughter, really, Tennessee, who was a friend of ours. And we met.
Because she's a drummer as well.
She's a drummer as well, yeah. Yeah. She was in The Like, that band.
Right. And then they're not still going?
No, they're not. But yeah, so we met Pete a few times through him. And I once got up with Elvis and sang Lipstick Vogue, which is a tune we also covered.
This comes back around.
At a 50th birthday party for Tom Rowley's dad as well.
There you go.
Right.
Like a link.
Wow.
Yeah.
God, it's all interlinked, isn't it?
It isn't it? Oh.
And snap out of it a message to self, or is there an actual experience behind this one where somebody had to snap out of it?
Whose shoulders needed grabbing that particular day?
I think all our shoulders need grabbing from time to time, John, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, from that into the music. Snap out of it. Arctic Monkeys, Exposure, XFM.
I wanna grab the shoulders and shake, baby. Snap out of it. I get the feeling I left it too late, but baby, snap out of it. If that watch don't continue to swing, I'll a fat lady fancy having a thing. I'll be here waiting ever so patiently for you to snap out of it.
Snap out of it. Arctic Monkeys on Exposure XFM, and there are just 2 more tracks to come.
Exposure with John Kennedy. XFM.
It is Knee Socks on Exposure XFM, Arctic Monkeys with the penultimate track from the brand new album AM. We've been playing you the whole thing with Alex and Matt from the band, talking us through it track by track. This is Josh's moment on the record, even though it kind of did a feature earlier on. But this is the kind of highlight that you were talking about. And so, I mean, this was recorded in Joshua Tree, or did he come to your new pad? Sage and Sound.
Yeah, it was towards the end of the session.
Came down Sage.
And there were a lot of loose ends. And we were sort of just playing him tunes, I suppose, at this point. It was kind of like we were all involved by this point. And it's good, like obviously Josh is a friend of ours now and someone we very much enjoy spending time with. And as I'm sure you know, he's very funny and
he's hilarious, yeah.
So is that, but he also happens to be in a pretty amazing band as well. That's like trying to do something, which I like we are as well. Like we're like chasing after something, trying to like move forward and that. And I don't think you get too many of those, really. I mean, not to sort of, be harsh, but I don't think people are sort of doing that as much. Anyway, so he is on the list of people to play new tunes to, kind of like up near the top. So we got him down one night, and I think in just that exercise of like playing your new music back to people, you hear it differently, and whether it's like something's too slow or there's not enough of something, or something's too loud, I don't know. And also, like, obviously we welcome his opinion. But we got to this tune, Knee Socks, and he was like, there was this kind of breakdown in the middle where it goes to these kind of fast-paced high vocals that Matt and I were doing. But we almost put them in there for a guide. We were like going to replace them with some girls maybe later on, and I don't know. And then Josh heard that bit and sort of started singing this like counter melody. It was like, oh, that's great, and takes it to a totally different place, which I would never have imagined it going. and then also almost made sense of our guide thing that we put in there already. So we just left that as it was, and dialed him in there, and it was. And then it's kind of my favourite part of the album, really. That part now, I think this is our most original record anyway, and that is the most original part of it.
Knee Socks, the song we just heard. Excellent. That's interesting. One of the things that I like is that it has that line, exceptionally rainy Tuesday night, which I love that, the detail. And you were talking earlier, Matt, about not much rain being on
Yeah, I
this
just
record.
forgot about that bit, didn't I?
But that's
Caught you
that's
out
the
there,
one.
didn't I?
It's the one bit of rain on the record.
So you get when you don't listen.
Yeah.
But that's still not a lot of rain compared to
not.
what we're used to.
One word.
Yeah.
I suppose there are a lot of songs about summer flings in the world. Like I wanted to write about a winter one, just to be contrary. Really.
Why not? And the last song on the album is "I Want to Be Yours," which in a way takes it away from California and brings it back to Britain in a big way. I mean, you've always been quite vocal about your love of John Cooper Clarke, and if I remember, wasn't he one of the few people who liked Arctic Monkeys as a band name?
Right. That is
The person.
how the story goes.
Yeah.
He's the person who liked it.
Which is nice. Can you remember when did you first hear John Cooper Clarke, or did you first see him on the written page?
I first seen him. We saw what happened.
I saw him in a written page, to be honest with you.
There was
At
a
school,
page
so
at
Anthology.
school. It was
Right.
on the syllabus, but like a lot of stuff on there, you tend to not really pay much attention.
You read
to
it in your own
or something
voice.
like that. But our English teacher was terrific and
Did a great
and
impersonation.
Did a great impersonation of Johnny Clarke.
Right.
But I have to admit, it wasn't until a couple of years later that I really got into it, and that was when I saw him opening for the Fall at this
In the old Mucky Duck.
in the old Mucky Duck in Sheffield, the Black Swan, where I used to work, and it was the kind of place where you'd get some like tribute bands one night or something, and the new unsigned acts the other, and then the Fall on Thursday with John Cooper Clarke opening. And
I mean,
was
that's
like,
an amazing bill, because it could have been 20, 30
Yeah.
years beforehand. couldn't it?
yeah, no, it was amazing. So I was there kind of pulling pints, and he kind of shuffled on stage with his carrier bag and his, full of poetry, and his hair, and his that like style, and kind of like I was pulling the pint there, and sort of probably had like Timothy Taylor's Landlord just going everywhere, like overflowing from the glass as I like listened to this guy who kind of just like in awe, I suppose. Yeah, and that's what like we'd started the band then, but we weren't really writing songs. It was I didn't know what I was doing yet, and that definitely gave me a spark of like, oh, I could do this thing maybe, or something like this. Yeah.
Mm. The wordplay, the rhyming, because
Exactly,
he
yeah.
revels in all of that. doesn't
What he was talking about and how. That's what I liked about Roots Maneuver as well in the beginning, was that he was describing sometimes very like mundane things, but with like such an angle on it that it was a little bit like psychedelic or something. Suddenly being in the corner shop was like a bit swirly, and that would appeal to me, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And Johnny Clarke, it's just even the bits between him reading his poems are kind of poems, like he's a master.
Yeah, no question. And have you heard the musical versions? John Cooper Clarke with group as were released on like Snap, Crackle and Pop, and
Absolutely,
because it seems like a different kind of thing to the way he is as a solo performer and just reading his stuff out.
Totally, I tend to prefer the latter,
But then, what inspired you to try and put this to music and change it? Because part of his delivery has always been, ultra speedy. And there was that nice documentary about him recently where he was saying, kind of inspired by the Ramones, and they thought a good gig was when they played the same place again, but shortened the set by like 5 minutes. And he thought, that's what I should do. And he started to read
Talk as fast as you
ever more quickly.
Yeah.
And would be
It is
happy
good
if
when
he
you
could
see
get
it like
something
that.
done in
Yeah.
1 minute. Yeah, done that.
Yeah. It was sort of accidental, really. We had this demo of and it was actually kind of quite sort of, it had
first one,
sharp edges,
Yeah.
like the original version that I started singing. It was like a weird kind of, it was quite angular, it didn't really fit anywhere. It had this weird time signature thing. It was sort of, it was pretty awful actually, but like it was just something we come up with one afternoon, and I'd started singing like saying I want to be yours, like over the top of it, and was kind of like, oh yeah. And then sort of forgot about it, and it was James Ford that then took that and was like, why don't we make this like a slow jam? And that's kind of where it kind of, it ended up like Genuine Pony or something at first, and then it went through like another 3 lives and came out like the way it is. But but then it just like that idea, then suddenly it seemed, it's like perfect. Of course, like I Want to Be Yours could be the title of a slow jam, like
Totally.
why not? Yeah. And then we sort of put that the like tremolo guitars on there, and it's even a drum machine on there, like this old sort of Selma drum machine that we found in that keyboard studio, and sort of thought like, if we're not going to have like the lyrics written by me, then maybe we can have like just the drum machine as well. Like, I don't know. I know it's not that out there to use a drum machine as well, by the way, but it's like, yeah, I mean, it's
There's that nice echo sound on the drums as well. Is that part of the drum machine that is that kind of?
Yeah, I think we got
I
like
never-
live hats maybe and
Right.
like percussion, but the it was a combination. I think there was like 2. One was this old Selma, maybe one was like a Bentley Rhythm Ace. But the setting though, that was it. The setting that the drum machine was set to was Liverpool.
Just happened to be. What
So
other
then-
ones were there?
Oh, I don't
Nothing
know.
like that.
Yeah.
They weren't just
Tango.
regions.
Nah, it'd be good. Yeah, Norwich.
Good one. Good Norwich one.
Thanks so much for coming in and talking us through the album.
Thanks for having us, man.
This is the last track from AM. This is Arctic Monkeys with I Wanna Be Yours on XFM.
Let me be your lucky meter, and I'll never run out. Let me be the portable heater that y'all get cold without. I wanna be a steady lotion, hold your hair in deep devotion, at least as deep as the Pacific Ocean. I wanna be your